Hi, I'm Jeff with Local Business Spotlight, and today we have with us Jake Walker, owner of My Fave Prints, and he's located in the York, PA area. Jake, welcome.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Thank you. Jake, well, guess we'll start off with, can you give us an overview of your company and what exactly it does?
Well, basically, My Fave Prints, or My Favorite Prints, I call it My Fave Prints for short. Um, it started out as a 3D printing service that I was working full time at a job, and I got interested in 3D printers back in 2019. I got my first 3D printer in March of 2019, and at the end of that year, I ended up leaving my job and pursuing this as a full time, like, to build this business. And So basically, it started off as a company that does 3D printing and 3D modeling because I went to the Art Institute of York, Pennsylvania, and I got a degree for computer animation there. And that's where I learned a lot about 3D modeling. It even started before that in my senior year of high school. There's a place that was called the Advanced Skills Center of York, over on Pennsylvania Avenue. And I learned computer aided drafting there around 2005. And basically, since I have a background with 3D modeling, I thought that starting a business with 3D printing seemed like a natural way to go. So that's kind of how it started. It Some of the jobs that I do are custom jobs for people that come to me with designs that they have of something they would want. Like last year, I worked with a company, it was actually like an event called High Brew Nation. It's a beer festival, and you basically go and you try all these different beers, and they have a first, second, and third place winner. And the person that I worked with wanted trophies for the first, second, and third place winners that looked like the logo. So I helped him design and come up with this
Oh, that's cool.
trophy that he was able to, make his own
Mhm.
name plaques and put those on there. And then, we have a hole in the bottom so it can be weighted, and we put felt on the bottom so it has a weight of a nice trophy to it.
Yeah.
And you can see more pictures from that on their website. So I started doing stuff like that. Right now, I'm actually working with the same guy to do a trophy for this event,
Hmm.
Shaken Not Stirred. So I'm making a fox trophy, kind of at the same approach, and that's going to be for that event. So I do stuff like that, and then also I, excuse me, I look at um, products online, and I use websites like Keyword CAG and
Hmm.
Scientific Seller, and that helps me figure out what exactly people on Amazon and Google are searching for. And then when I figure out what products people are searching for, I go and look at products like that, and then I look at their 1-star ratings and 2-star ratings, and I figure out what's wrong with that product and what
Right.
the customers don't like about it, and I try to fix that with my version of the product, and then develop it with 3D printing, push it to the market, and test it as my own product. And then, if anything ever catches on to a point where, it needs to be mass produced, you can go from 3D printing to another type of manufacturing like injection molding. So the
Okay.
possibilities are, there's tons of stuff you can do with 3D printing. It's super interesting to me.
Yeah, it is interesting. I never even knew what it was until I had met you online there, and I looked it up. And I guess there may be a lot of people that don't know exactly what 3D printing is. You think of
Yeah.
a printing as a printer, and 3D. How do you make a mold out of? So I guess, is there like an easy description of what 3D printing is for people that have no clue?
Well, I would say basically it's like, another term for it is additive manufacturing. So
Okay.
in the past, you had CNC, like CNC milling, where you take a block of material and you cut away at the material to make a part, and that's called subtractive manufacturing. So with additive manufacturing or 3D printing, you're
Hmm.
not subtracting material and wasting it as much as you are. You're just 3D printing each layer of a model one at a time, and you're adding a little bit of material at a time to make what you need. A lot
Okay.
of models can be printed without support material, but then there's a problem with 3D printing where if you have something that you want to print out and it's got an overhang of, like 45 degrees or more, it
Mhm.
needs something underneath that to support, or else when it starts to, push out the plastic, it's going to fall down. It's basically a 3D printer, like the kind that a lot of people use nowadays, which are FDM or fused deposition modeling printers. They use a spool of plastic filament and
Okay.
it's put into an extruder, which is a hot end. It's basically like a glue gun, and
Right.
it's controlled by CNC. It's controlled by G code, which is a form of code that tells the machine
Mhm.
what to do, where to go, how much material to push out at what temperature, so on and so forth. And so basically, I mean, I would say to boil it down, it's like 3D printing is additive manufacturing, and um, there's probably a really clear definition to this. I should know the answer to this off the top of
So,
my head.
so
I mean,
basically,
there's,
it's printing with a printer instead of using ink. You're using plastic.
yeah, that's one type. There's lots of different types of
Oh,
3D printing,
okay.
which is why it's confusing to some people. It actually
Yeah.
started in the 80s by a company called Stratasys. It was
Hmm.
invented by them, and they invented a form of 3D printing called stereolithography, which actually
Hmm.
uses lasers and a resin material that's cured by the lasers at a
Oh,
layer at a
okay.
time. So
Huh.
there's different ways, and you can 3D print with metal. You can 3D print,
Oh,
all
yeah.
kinds of.
So it's been around that long, since the 80s, huh?
The reason
Oh,
why it's
wow.
become more adaptable and popular these days is because recently there's been some patents that expired, and that allowed other companies to develop on the equipment, and companies like Prusa Research, they um, design printers of their own, desktop machines that can be sold and used in homes that are more affordable to people like you and me,
Oh,
versus
okay.
the big stuff, can cost hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars for
Hmm.
a machine the size of a car. And
Yeah.
it's that stuff like that's used in industry, like industrial size stuff all the time.
Hmm.
Um, but it's really starting to get that desktop word to it now.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, like I say, I didn't know much about it or anything hardly about it. And something that blew my mind was the search volume on the internet for 3D printing. It's a half a
yeah,
million a month. That's
check out
crazy.
Google Trends for 3D printing filament too.
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, that's
So,
one of the reasons I got into 3D printing is because I
mhm.
saw this, even though it's not as wasteful as subtractive manufacturing like CNC might be,
Hmm.
there's still failed 3D prints, and
Right.
there's support material, and all these different things. And now with multicolor FDM 3D printing, there's purge blocks, which is basically where you can put multiple colors of filament into these machines, and
Hmm.
it'll spit out the color that you need on your model, but then it has to go back to a purge block and extrude enough to get to the next color, so it's not mixing the colors on your print.
Hmm.
Um, and that's called a purge block. And that could be wasteful too, because this kind of plastic, it doesn't have a resin identification code on it, like
Hmm.
your 1 through 7 plastics,
Right.
to be recycled. So you can't put it in a recycle bin. So
Oh, okay.
I, I'm really I like to focus around the environment. I started back like in 2010. I started my first company, Runoff Studios, and my idea with that was to help accelerate the transition towards renewables by teaching people how to protect the environment for future generations.
Right.
And we started by making an iPhone app that taught people about recycling. That company didn't work out so well, but it's kind of on the back burner right now. And I'm hoping I can use my favorite prints to
Hmm.
reinvest into that company if I can generate enough revenue with this one. Um, but my goal is to like make an impact on the way things and materials are recycled, and kind of have a closed loop manufacturing process where the
Okay.
material's not put in a landfill. So I started a service in September of this year where I actually collect failed 3D prints from material,
Hmm.
3D print material from people in exchange for sweepstakes entries. So people can
Oh,
win
that's
like a new
cool.
3D printer, and all they have to do is send me some 3D printing scraps. If you send in £1, and I have like, this is what it looks like. I have a box here. This is my logo.
Okay.
Um,
Cool.
I have a box here. This is 3D, what 3D FDM
Yeah.
these printing scraps look like. So there's material that gets laid down to help it stick to the
Yeah.
bed when it's printing out so it doesn't slide off and stuff. And all that stuff is usually trashed,
Right.
thrown in the trash, So my idea is to try to collect it and
Yeah.
grind it up and extrude it into a new material, new 3D printing material. There's already a company in New Zealand doing this.
Uh-huh.
They're making their own line of 3D printing filament, and they're also recycling any
Mhm.
and when they do 3D printing, when they manufacture it, they have to do it within a certain tolerance. And if it's
Mhm.
off, they have to, grind it up and re-extrude it. That's basically what I'm doing with the failed 3D prints.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
I'm going to be
So,
grinding them up, making new filament out of them. Instead of it going to a landfill, it's going to be
right.
cycled
Right.
that way.
So other people that are doing the 3D printing, they can just send their stuff to you.
Exactly. Yeah, the failed FDM 3D prints. There's
Yeah.
not a way. I don't think they've figured out a way to recycle the resin printing yet,
Okay.
but there's people researching how to make resins that can be recycled through a chemical process.
Yeah.
So that could be something that we do in the future. But for right
Uh-huh.
now, we just recycle the FDM 3D printing material.
Well, that's cool. So then your current customers is my next question. Who are your current customers? It could be people in that, but then for your molds and things you're making, it could be anybody. I mean, I guess
Yeah,
anybody that wants something made.
that's an interesting part about the business. And I suppose a lot of businesses are like this, where they have more than one target market, which I
Mm-hmm.
do.
Yeah.
I have a target market of people that might have never heard of or seen a 3D printer, and
Right.
I sell those products on Etsy and Amazon and Facebook.
Uh-huh.
And then I also have customers that are looking for you know certain things related to 3D printing.
Just,
And
just, just like you showed me earlier, then also people that need like molds for knickknacks or trophies, or you could probably even get into usable things like,
oh
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, one of the things I'm working on right now is making a mold out of a 3D print that I can actually cast some ceramic items and then have them fired by another local company that already has a kiln, and work with other companies to create some products and test them on the market. And if they do
Hmm.
really well,
Yeah.
just move to mass
So,
production.
so that's another market you have, inventors.
Hmm.
People that are
Yeah, yeah.
looking to, yeah.
And
Okay.
I'm like
That's,
right now I'm working on creating a community on my website where people can come and look for 3D models. And there's already lots of 3D model repositories, is what they call them, like Thingiverse, Cults 3D. There's a new one called Thangs, and
mhm.
they all have their own little quirks and cool things about them. But I have some plans to make my own version of a 3D model repository that
Mhm.
focuses on a few specific things, including one of which is including having it be like fully ADA compliant. That's one thing that
Mhm.
I found on all these sites that they don't have, which could easily be implemented. And I hope that they do. If they see this video and they're like, oh, we could do that real easy, let's do that. Then
Yeah.
that would open up the community to a lot of people that may have been marginalized so far
Mhm.
a little bit. I mean, there's a few websites that have stuff available for people that are blind or have any kind of disabilities
Mhm.
that want to get into 3D printing, but might have a barrier in place because of what's available and what's not available. And I want to make that something that I do, because I feel like I can grow this business a lot faster if I focus on serving the community of 3D
Right.
printing and the community of people in general, instead of just serving the business by itself by just focusing on
Yeah. You have a wide
making custom
range.
stuff. Or
You have a wide target audience, really.
yeah, I have a lot
So,
of big dreams.
yeah.
So
Excuse me. Okay. Well, then, one of the questions I was going to ask you is, you know, uh, what makes your business unique or your company unique? And you pretty much covered that. You cover anything. Um, is there any advice you could give to someone who might want to start a 3D printing business? Or do you have, would you be willing to teach people or train people to do it? Or maybe down the road, will you be hiring people or anything like that?
that's actually helps segue into the something else that I would like to do. Yeah, to answer your question, yes, I would love to help other people and
Mhm.
beginners and
Right.
kids get into 3D printing and get
Yeah.
interested in it. And
Yeah.
I've been working with local companies like um, there's a co-working space in Dallastown called Freelance York in
Mhm.
Dallastown, Pennsylvania,
All right.
and it's on Queen Street. It's actually associated with the guy that helps me build my website and
Mhm.
do a lot of that stuff. Nicely Done Sites is the name of that company,
Mhm.
and basically we've been thinking about building out courses where I could have, maybe 5 or 6 people. Like
Yeah.
we could have different age groups, maybe like 8 to however, or grouping it like where I'd have one where you could come in and pay a certain price where I could help you build a 3D printer from start to finish. And it would
Yeah.
be a beginner 3D printer that's relatively easy to, like, you can get a 3D printer for $150 these
Oh yeah.
days. And for the younger people that are like, younger than 8, I think a good age to get into 3D printing from the research that I've done for kids is around 8 years old. But
Okay.
there's a lot of kids probably under that
Mhm.
also want to learn about 3D printing. So our idea with that was to have an age group, a class where it's maybe like an hour or two, and they would come in with their parents, and the parents would stay there, and we'd have like pizza and go over the basics of what a 3D printer is, what it looks like, and then actually give them like a toy that looks like a 3D printer that they could play
Oh,
with their
okay.
GI Joe or their Barbie or something,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that even they can get into, having something in their hands, which is going to help them. You know, it might help them get into, STEM,
Yeah.
science, engineering, technology,
Sure.
mathematics, that kind of stuff. So I'm definitely interested in helping, the younger generation get into
That's
this kind of
that's
stuff.
great. So how would people want to get in touch with you? What would be the best route for
You
them?
can go straight to my website. I have a live chat there. You can usually get a hold of me really quick there. It's directly linked to my cell phone. So if
Okay.
you live chat there, I get a notification on my phone. You
Mhm.
can email me at jake@myfaithprince.com. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I mean, we're mostly on Facebook and Instagram right now. I would like to have, like, that leads into like having people have creating jobs. Like I could really use a marketing person. I could really use
Yeah.
a COO. I could really use a material scientist for the
Mhm.
recycling aspect of my business. All these different things.
Yeah.
So, I'm definitely looking for partners too,
Right.
so I can
Okay.
take this business to the next level.
Right. Well,
But yeah, like,
I'll be sure and put all those links below the video here on Local Business Spotlight and on YouTube where the video will
yeah,
be.
all the social media is just at My Faith Prince. So, and
Okay.
if you go to any social media, I try to make it the same across the board, just at
Mhm.
My Faith Prince.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Well, is there anything else you want to
That's all I
tell?
can think of
We
for
got it all
now.
covered, huh? Yeah, we
I
have
appreciate
hung
your
on here
time.
for a
Thank
while.
you.
Well, I thank you for being here. I really learned a lot, and I'm sure a lot of other people were. Uh, all right, well, that wraps it up then. We'll see everyone on another interview.